I'm Megyn Kelly, live in New York City. And tonight,
I've never had the occasion to think that I had to fear my government.
See why an Academy Award winner is now warning about government retribution against certain conservative Americans. Plus,
we had the correct number of assets in Benghazi at the time of 9/11 for what had been agreed upon.
Wait until you see what just happened with the woman at the center of the Benghazi tragedy. And then,
see you tonight.
Some people are very angry about this controversial ad campaign. Can you see why? We'll explain on The Kelly File tonight.
And developing tonight, new accusations that the feds are unfairly targeting conservatives in an effort to silence those who do not agree with the Obama administration during a crucial election year. Welcome to The Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. The suggestions that conservatives are being singled out now gaining traction after conservative filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza was indicted on federal charges of violating campaign finance laws. He has pleaded not guilty. And in moments, we will speak with Academy Award winner Gerald Molen. He worked with D'Souza on his hit documentary 2016, Obama's America, and wait until you hear what he has to say. He just spoke with Dinesh today. But we begin with J. Christian Adams, who's a columnist with PJ Media and a former United States Department of Justice attorney who worked on election fraud cases during his time at the DOJ. Chris, it's good to see you again. And so here's my question for you. More and more we are hearing from conservative bloggers, conservative circles, that they believe anecdotally that some of these prosecutions are politically motivated. Just walk us through where that comes from, because the Obama administration has indicted a lot of Democrats too.
Well, this is a pattern of abuse with his Justice Department. They will go after their political opponents and they'll give sanctuary to their political friends, Megyn. You see this from the very beginning. They've gone after Catholic groups, pro-life protesters, Christian churches like Hosanna Tabor. They've gone after Tea Party groups like True the Vote. And look what they do on the other side of the ledger. They help their union friends by crushing Chrysler bondholder rights, or helping the NAACP by going after Rick Perry in the voter ID cases. This Justice Department is very skilled at helping the president's political friends and hurting the president's political enemies.
You've got groups, we talked about this last week, like Friends of Abe, which is a Hollywood conservative group. They basically have to go underground if you're conservative in Hollywood. If you want to be a part of a group that thinks like you have to keep it a secret in Hollywood in order to keep working. And so this group, Friends of Abe, has done that. And now the IRS is probing their purported tax exempt status, wanting to know exactly who's on their membership lists. They've refused. We see Dinesh indicted, although they claim that he bundled money for a conservative Senate candidate here in New York in a way he was not allowed to do. And others have said, you know, look, yes, he may have committed some crime. He's pleaded not guilty. But that normally the DOJ wouldn't be getting involved in something like this. It would possibly be a state matter, or they would allow him to plead it down. What's your experience?
No, this is taken very seriously by this Justice Department. They're called conduit cases. This Justice Department is looking very, very closely at conduits, meaning you give money for somebody else to give to a candidate, because under federal election law, you're limited into how much you can give. But Megyn, understand something. These campaign finance limits are even something that are ideological. They're limits on political speech that limit what regular Americans can do, while the unions are free to be heavily involved in elections. So that's one of the reasons why this Justice Department is focusing on conduit cases. They're very easy to prove. They're very easy to detect. I've been in the training when I was at DOJ. It is not a hard case. So either he did it or he didn't do it, and we'll find out.
Before I let you go, having worked at Department of Justice, do you believe it's possible that this DOJ is actually targeting conservatives?
Well, it's interesting. When I went through the training for conduit cases, I will never forget that they pulled up on the screen for all the FBI and the DOJ election people an example of how to look for them. and they pulled up the records of Joe Wilson, a Republican from South Carolina, all of his donors. And I thought, isn't that interesting that they're focused on Joe Wilson to teach all the FBI agents how to do this? So this is very serious to this Justice Department because they're on the side of the speech regulators. They're on the side of people who want to limit political speech. And these cases against Dinesh are just another example of that.
It's interesting. Joe Wilson, of course, who infamously shouted, "You lie," at the president from his during his State of the Union address a couple years ago. Chris, good to see you.
You too, Megan.
Well, just yesterday on CBS's Face the Nation, this exact issue came up when Texas Senator Ted Cruz accused the Obama administration of abusing its power. Watch.
Let me tell you something that deeply concerns me. It's the abuse of power from this administration. We've seen multiple filmmakers prosecuted and the government's gone after them, whether it was the poor fellow that did the film that the president blamed Benghazi and the terrorist attack on. Turned out that wasn't the reason for the attack, but the administration went and put that poor fellow in jail on unrelated charges. Or just this week, it's been broken that Dinesh D'Souza, who did a very big movie criticizing the president, is now being prosecuted by this administration.
Senator.
Bob, can you imagine the reaction if the Bush administration had gone and prosecuted Michael Moore and Alec Baldwin and Sean Penn?
Senator.
CBS wound up cutting that, they said, for time, but it is posted on their website. And Senator Cruz said much the same tonight on Greta's show. Joining me now, Jerry Molen, who's the Academy Award-winning producer of Schindler's List, among other films, Jurassic Park to name one. And he produced the hit 2016 Obama's America with Dinesh D'Souza and is working on the upcoming documentary America with Dinesh as well. Jerry, thank you so much for being here. I know you spoke with him today. He's pleaded not guilty in the case. How is he? And has he shared his feelings with you about whether this is a political charge?
Hi, Megan. Thanks for having me on. Well, yes, I did talk to him today. He's doing very well. I think he's still a little bit stunned that the country would kind of turn its back on him a little bit and charge him this way.
And, you know, you've known him for a long time. Do you believe that it's difficult for somebody like Dinesh, a conservative filmmaker, to make films and not have to worry about political retribution?
Well, it's kind of strange that he even has the title conservative filmmaker. Yes, he may be a conservative, but he's a filmmaker first. He likes telling stories. And there's never anything wrong with digging for the truth in anything.
Well, you know,
So,
2016, I mean, his last film was not flattering of the president. And many believe that that is why this crime, this alleged crime, is being pursued. What do you think?
Well, I think so, too. I really do. I think it's kind of strange that somebody would allegedly contribute $20,000, and yet we say nothing. There's nothing in the press ever about the fact that I can go to a dinner. You can go to a dinner and put up $25,000, $35,000, $40,000 a plate that goes to somebody.
Because just so the viewers know, he's charged with contributing to this conservative Senate candidate in New York, and he's charged with sort of allegedly trying to get around the $5,000 campaign limit by bundling a bunch of money for other people and submitting it. Now, again, he's pleaded not guilty. By the way, his bond has been set at $500,000 reportedly, which is very high. I want to ask you whether you believe, because I know you and he are not only did that other film, you're working on another film together called America. Now, and some suggested on this show just last week that this is not going to go over well with the administration either. What is that film about?
Well, they may not be happy about it because, you know, truth is truth. And this particular film, America, has to deal with the premise of, you know, what would this world be if America never was.
And do you think that Dinesh, or you for that matter, sir, are likely to be intimidated by this criminal action?
You know, the worst thing that I think someone can think that they can be put in a position to be intimidated by their own government. I would find that very offensive. I just can't believe that would happen. And I really believe that in this case with Dinesh, that somebody's going to wake up and it's going to be dismissed.
Well, we have had a lot of prosecutions of Democrats, as I mentioned earlier, Rod Blagojevich, Jesse Jackson Jr., Tony Rezko, John Edwards, and yet there is a question about whether there's something else when you're being pursued after having been such an outspoken critic of the administration. Jerry, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.